Great. And here we are, part 3. Welcome and thanks to Jo for rejoining. Today we're going to be talking about the preschool years from around the age of 3 to 5 years old. And it's safe to say that this is a time when the brain is just shooting new neurons and it's hungry for information and doing and absorbing and asking, and it's full on, isn't it, this time?
Busy and gorgeous years. Very demanding for parents.
Yes.
But so worth engaging with children, with their inquisitiveness and their curiosity and their wonder that, wow, this world's full of things and they're so interesting and there's so many things to ask about, and the way that the attachment relationship hopefully is giving some security and comfort, and the child can return to that secure base of a kind and loving, reliable parent or carer or person who helps. And given that, I think the children of this age are really demanding.
Yeah, you said in the book at the end of the chapter, at this age, you said that often this is the time when the parents themselves need help. First of all, is there anything they can do to help the children? But then often it's the parents themselves that need some kind of support to help them understand what's going on and to sort of bend with it rather than to control and to expect all kinds of great results, because it's a real you talk about acceptance, to have a sense of acceptance of everything that's going on, and I think that this must be such a challenge for that to come about.
I think it really is. That sometimes it can be hard to interpret what direction your child is going in their development, and I think it gets very confusing for parents. And so that sort of basic structure is needed. That structure and engagement and nurture and challenge, which are the building blocks of a good environment in which a child can learn. So lots of, if parents can try and be open and curious about their children, they can hang in there. But and you have to be open and kind but assertive with little people of this age. They really need you to help them with learning about boundaries. They wouldn't hold them in their minds. They would need constantly reminding in a kind and gentle way about the limits of things. They will get frustrated by time limits and time constraints, and they'll get frustrated if they're trying to learn something and it's difficult, and they'll get cross, and their emotions are right out there, right in front. They're not, children at this age are not being logical about emotion. The emotion is still a primary form of communication, and so they're kind of like, parents are sometimes finding that hard to decipher.
Yeah, you talk about naming, reclaiming and understanding their emotions, to see them, not to discuss and not to sort of get wordy, but just to be there, understand, accept. Yes, it's difficult, I know.
Yes, that's right.
But we'll move through it together.
Yes, that's right. Giving those emotions time, because if you have the courage to do that, it will actually increase the child's capacity to develop cognitively. So if children are settled emotionally, then that cognitive brain can come online much more easily. If that limbic system is in turmoil and children aren't understood, then it's really hard to get that cognitive system online. And if you think about it, there is so much going on. They're learning a language. They understand more of the language than they can speak. They can't always put things into words. They don't really understand why they don't rule the world, because they're kind of thinking this is a good opportunity. So I'm feeling that I'd like to rule the world at the age of 3, you know, but no, they can't, and that's hard. And then there's that sort of that understanding that not all minds are the same, that mum and dad and other children will be thinking about different things to them. That theory of mind that we talk about is really there, and it's confusing and confounding, and yet it's very curious, and that's the basis, isn't it? A basis of social learning.
Yeah, that's right. They're helping them to shift from that egocentric, I am the king or the queen, to being able to share with their toys, to help play with others, to help this transition into being cooperative and to negotiate with other children, and through trial and error and taking turns to have a go at this. It's a very tricky line, because you're with your kid going through this, but also you have to let them go and make mistakes and have, no, you can't have that. I know sharing is really difficult, but we're going to get through this. And
absolutely, it really does. I mean, and there's a lot of people that need to be patient. It's not just parents. Preschool teachers play a huge role in helping children to learn. It's an absolutely massive and vital role. And and grandparents and aunts and uncles can really keep sort of reinforcing this idea that it's about this pro-social idea, which isn't quite sitting with them, doesn't quite sit with them. It's just like, hold on, I thought this was all about me, and it's just like, no, there's a whole lot of other people, and that is tough going.
But then it can be all about them when you're engaging with play with them, and they're learning to, eye-hand coordination with, holding, catching a ball, playing games, jumping, climbing, even singing, things like that can be great, because that gives them words. They're learning vocabulary through songs and, learning about their voice. And
well, I think that's absolutely right. It's no accident that we arrived in a social world with nursery rhymes. It's not, we've developed that over hundreds and hundreds of years, probably even longer, that little people are learning to put little stories together. And a nursery rhyme is a little story, really, and it has music to it. And somehow intuitively and instinctively, parents and people in the social world have understood this little brain taking on a little story, and those stories, again, are in our field of psychotherapy, Audrey. These days we are talking about us humans having storied brains. It's kind of quite, everybody's thinking about that, aren't they? The way that we tell the story of our life is so important to our well-being, our narrative, and our sort of understanding of our history. And we, little people of this age love stories, and it really teaches something to that little brain. And I think when I think of stories, and I think of little people, but also big people, a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And a day has a beginning and a middle and an end. And breakfast has a beginning, a middle, and when we're teaching about circular, sort of cyclical experience of life, everybody has a beginning and middle and an end. So so important. That's such good learning time. This is the field of learning from enjoyment.
Yeah. And that sense of what you were saying about the beginning, middle, and end, that actually adds a sense of security, because in some ways that adds a sense of security, because you know kind of what's coming. And then the space between the new end, the old end, and a new beginning is an exciting place.
I think that new beginning is right, because yesterday's disaster doesn't have to be today's disaster. And I think every parent or carer or teacher of any child or aunt or uncle or anybody will know that children can have quite can have days when it just doesn't seem to go right for them, that they will have a grumpy day, or a sad day, or a disastrous day, and
in a day that they can't even express themselves, that
yeah,
they don't have the words to be able to share what it is that they're, the turmoil or the confusion or the different feelings. They don't have that vocabulary. I mean, lots of adults, I know I probably don't have always the vocabulary to really explain what's going on. I think just something that rings true for me, that the sense of acceptance, that it's, life can be so difficult, and it can be difficult internally for you, but even if you can't can communicate, that the parent can communicate a sense of acceptance, of love, that everything's going to be okay, that this is just a moment, and tomorrow is another day, and what happens tomorrow, all of that.
Absolutely. That's the job, that's the task, that's the job description. To show children as much of the time as possible, possibly not all the time, but absolutely as much as we can. Hey, I'm running this, and yes, the world is actually it's a big, exciting, but can be quite frightening place. So, like, you need me to take care of this, so let's do this.
Yeah.
That's the job description.
Yeah, and also you were saying in the book about the rigid parenting.
Yeah.
As opposed to the parents that sort of bend a little bit and go into places that they don't quite know, they haven't been before, but to try and work things out, and try this and maybe try that can actually be very helpful for when they do go to school and they have got to interface with other children, and so the rigidity will stop them being as social and as sort of interactive, that they're going to pick up from the parents that behavior.
Yeah, that's right. Introducing some flexibility into our lives is always very helpful. Sometimes there's a need for some rigidity. Sometimes we need to be firm and stand quite firm with our thoughts. But flexibility is always going to give the brain a chance to be creative, to reform, and to find a comfortable pattern. And so, yeah. And again, bringing it back to the world of psychotherapy and modern psychotherapy, we're thinking of helping people have a sort of flexible approach. If you can't do it this way, maybe you can do it another way. Flexible parenting. Gosh, you can't be rigid about being a person, really, can you? I mean, it just doesn't work.
I'm learning that still now. You think you have your idea about something, and actually it's really holding me back. So much better to forget it and just really see how one feels and move from that place, and not try and get the result. It's not about the result. It's not about you talk about behavior is more about understanding emotions. That's number one.
Yeah, I was just sort of looking at what you were saying there, Audrey, and sort of that behaviour comes from emotion. And I think that's very, just to sort of clarify that a bit, because I think that's quite important. It's quite an interplay, isn't it? I think it would be very hard to say. I'd be very interested to meet the person that would dare to say which of those comes first.
Yeah.
Between the two. And what I love about this is this stage is if you sit and watch, say, a preschooler for half an hour, the immediacy of everything, the immediacy and the kind of ups and downs. It should take 1 minute they can be laughing their heads off, and the next minute that they absolutely think the world has fallen to pieces because something's gone wrong in the game or something, and then a few moments later, given the right attention, it's just like moving into I'm okay again, and then that's it, interplay is just such like a dance. It's a crazy little dance, and try and keep up with it.
The dance of life. Yes,
the dance of life. Yeah.
So Jo, I'm bringing up the patty cake little rhyme of patience, acceptance, tolerance, attunement, commitment, compassion, awareness, kindness, and empathy, all these nuggets that you know, we could do well for ourselves, let alone our little ones. But to you know, just write them down and stick them on the fridge, and if there is a moment that you're having a you know, difficult time, just to maybe even just pick one of them, and one of them would probably change the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we need to jolt in our own mind. I mean, you know, but children of this age, you know, it's just a wonderful, exciting journey, but they can be very demanding and very wearing to parents, there's no doubt. And I think that, you know, if I hear parents speak of regret, it would always be with when they've lost their patience. You know, they always then go and say, oh, if only I'd given that another minute, or, you know, I snapped. And it's never a good feeling. And a child doesn't really feel happy, because it's a sort of fracture in the little break in the relationship that the child doesn't feel very comfortable with. And so I think I put that in there as a set of ideals and values. It was just like, you know, we've got lots of options in our brains. I mean, you know, one of the things with children of this age, and I think parenting in general, is really that capacity to look after yourself and be in a good place, be in good shape. You know, we're always saying it in parenting, to put your oxygen mask on first to breathe, and then you can help others. And I think that list is a great sort of life list, really. You know, I think that to step back and take a breather, and perhaps come at things from a different way, having given yourself the compassion, you know, of a few moments, to you know, to then come back and deal with your little mammalian children who are learning to be civilized and structured, and they really aren't getting it yet. And you've got loads of, you know, it's a long journey, there's miles to go before you finish this job. And yeah, so it's there to, as a reminder, you know, and it's certainly not there as, hey, you better stick to this lot, or you failed, you know, because that's, I think parents these days are very, very demanding of themselves, you know, and it's a disaster to be that demanding of yourself, because children at this age actually sort of wreck everything. They'll knock it all down, you know, because they're so tiny. They can't, they're just exploring. They're like little puppy dogs, really, you know, exploring and tugging and being curious and being excited. And, you know, it's demanding.
Yeah, you need a good network of family, friends,
Oh, you do.
grandparents, everyone, neighbors, to come around and just alleviate.
Yeah. I mean, I think, say for example, that commitment, I mean, it sort of brings it back to that felt sense that we always talk about in psychotherapy these days, of we have a felt sense of life. It's that attunement to the moment in ourselves. And I think children are incredibly sharp and highly attuned to picking up on a felt sense of what's going on. And so, I mean, I always think, if you're doing something because you're disinterested, they'll know you're disinterested. You might as well go and sit back and say, like, you know, we'll come back to this later, you know. And they'll feel that sort of lack of authenticity in you. And I think that sort of that commitment to your own inner working model, and your own inner life, and matching that, aligning that with the structure of your life and the management of your life, and helping children, because this is what children are doing. They're not sort of fully formed. It doesn't always pull together very easily for them. They really need a lot of help. I was watching my grandchildren play, and it's just like, if you expected a game to be complete, you'd be ever so disappointed, you know, because every game brings a fresh disaster, a fresh opportunity for perceiving unfairness, or for perceiving, you know, some sense of disaster, you know. It's such a drama, and they're incredibly dramatic, but these things are real. Life is living. It is traumatic, and so good luck with taking care of yourself while you deal with that
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah, absolutely. And there comes the compassion to yourself as well. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to help always. You don't know how to be empathetic always.
No, and you might get it wrong, and you have to come back at it and do it again. And attunement isn't automatic always. It's attunement sometimes is about being willing to hold on, and if you don't understand, try and see what it is that's being communicated, because something will be being communicated.
And the tolerance, when you in the patty cake there's the tolerance, how would you describe that in a situation?
It's relative, isn't it? It's sort of like, we're not going to tolerate you getting your bricks and smashing it over your little brother's head or whatever. We're going to have to teach you not to do that. But we really need to give a lot of understanding to children, and that aggressive streak that is quite natural, really. They're experimenting to see if it works. You're going to have to be incredibly tolerant of working with the child to understand that. And tolerant of they don't have good memories at this age. Sometimes they'll have startlingly good memories, but other times they won't.
Because there's so much going on in their brain. There is so much growth. It's like a garden just suddenly bursting with a million different kinds of flowers. And it's just a bit overwhelming. But then when you can focus and do, playing or, something physical, I think that's the good idea, because it's embodying. It's not just in the mind, it's an embodying activity. And singing is very good, because that uses quite a lot of the brain, because there's the lots of things involved in singing. To try and get a lot of that going.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about helping the child of this age to regulate, and that isn't fully formed skill in any way. This is what they're learning. And if you think that a child of 3 would only just have potty trained, and a child of 5 won't have, 4.5, they won't have been potty trained for long, and that they are tolerating social situations where they have to manage that inner sense of that bodily function, and they kind of know that they don't really want to wet themselves, and you think of the drama of that. That's what something therefore that we automatically take very much for granted is easy, but for them it's massive. And again, with the sort of digestive system is still forming, they're still learning what foods they like, that the metabolizing of life is, as you say, the embodiment is that sort of metabolizing, isn't it, of their experiences.
And the environment
I mean, like right now, you think about the cold weather right now, and the impact of that on little children's skin and on their hair, and it's making a big demand on them. So I think sometimes we forget about these things. What we can just take for granted is huge for them. I think especially in that sort of preschool teaching field, there's the sort of people we need in there doing that incredible job is really the sensitive and thoughtful.
Because the kids are so sensitive to their environment, to the effect food is going to be having on them. If they, like you said before in the last one about sugar, if they're going to be very sensitive to the mad rush that they're going to get from the sugar, and then the deep drop afterwards.
Absolutely. And I suppose I always think as well, I mean, we're talking about children in a modern Western world, and and there's a lot that we take for granted, but imagine right now bringing up little children in a war zone, where there's a lot of fear in parents, and parents are trying to protect their children, or perhaps parents are refugees at the moment, and trying to deal with a lot of change and the incredible pressure they would be under. And if there's any chance for us to give support, because these little children, this is going to these bombs dropping on little children is going to scar their inner life.
Yeah.
It is going to affect them when they're older. So we've got a lot of work to be doing on supporting the Ukraine situation, or any refugees who.
So I mean, there are stories of very dire circumstances where the parents have still managed to protect the child from the worst of it all. I remember just saying to you about my friend who 2 years into the pandemic, her daughter who goes to school, she's 4, she'd be going to school, and right at the end of the pandemic she asked what coronavirus is, but mum had managed to protect her from that, so it's that it's just being able to share in that open sense that moving, talking about being rigid, this is good, this is bad, to let go of that, just to say, but this is just the way it is. This is the way it is today. Today is not a great day because, we're being bombed, but we're here together to keep the balance. We're here together, and I'm going to do my best to protect you. And we're going to move through this together. And that's all you can do. It's that, talk about the felt sense of security, even in a dire circumstance. You can still have a glimmer of that sense. But then just, and also just going back to, the child's environment, and to keep all the positive things going, movement, play, singing, playing with adults, tennis, jumping, climbing. And the more you can repeat all of that, the more strong the connections in their brain.
That we're developing those neural pathways and connections, the synapses, and that's sort of helping the brain to come online.
Yes,
it's still coming online, and so all of these small actions contribute to feeding that little brain. And not the very least, of course, this huge acquisition of language at this stage, this the cognitive development, and the way that children are learning words at a rapid rate, and really learning and putting meaning into situations through language, or through pictures, and through their sensory experience. So it's a sensory world.
Yes.
But it's a cognitive world as well, and if we can keep those senses alive, then the cognitive brain's going to be working at its optimum as well. And not the least, again, bringing it back to food, we really need some good, regular, great, well-balanced eating here.
Absolutely. The brain is very much fed by the gut, and just to kind of recap a little bit about the social environment that shapes the brain. But we're talking about, just going back a bit to the Ukraine, the social environment will shape the brain, but affection really shapes the brain. So the balance, that's what I was meaning before about the balance, when everything is hitting the fan. If the sense of affection is there, that will help shape the brain and calm, the adrenaline and the cortisol down, and then there's a little bit of balance that can restore.
Yes, that's right. So that's the sort of ultimately that mind kind approach, isn't it? That there's a lot for parents to bear in mind, but if they can convey that kindness to their toddler, and the way that is conveyed through the face and the eyes and the tone of the voice and the body language, that is what has an immediate impact. That is way beyond and before words. Yeah. So I mean, I always say, well, if you can't be nice, then don't say anything. To find your kind face, to find your kind words, to find your tone, really is something to be developed. And I'll even, if I work with parents, and I catch that they've got a harsh tone, it's probably one of the first things I'll work with them on, and sort of say, what do you think the impact of that tone is, that harsh sort of aggressive tone? What do you think that does to a child's brain? And we'll talk about it. I'm not trying to shame them, I'm just trying to help them think. Probably haven't been able to have the time to think about it.
Or maybe they were taught to, like that when they were a kid, that's what they know.
Yes. Or that there's very stressed and life is difficult. Even from the last time I spoke to you, because we've had a big break, the economy is difficult. For some families, food is difficult and electricity is difficult. I mean, this is just, parents are just going to feel desperate. And then we're sort of saying to them, oh, never mind, be mind kind. And they probably, it's probably difficult, but we have got, got to find a way. My mission is supporting parents to support kids. That's absolutely my mission. Let's just support you as much as we can. And I don't think that's about handing out loads of money. I think it's about making sure people have got enough, for sure. But it's tone of voice, you can't buy that. Yeah, kind face, you can't buy that.
Yeah.
Kind eyes, kind hands, kind heart. These, it's what I'm always plugging. There's no bank anywhere that can give you money for that.
Yeah.
You've just got to think that one through.
Yeah.
So, and every day is a new day. So, okay,
yeah.
Every day come at it. And tell the children, hey, we're being mind kind today. Let's think.
Yeah, and also you could say to the children, if ever I get a little bit shirty, just remind me to be mind kind, and then I'll remember to be mind kind.
Yes.
So remind, it's supposed to be mind kind day today.
Yeah.
For parents,
Yeah.
If that's not too.
No, I think that's right. No, I think that's right. No, I think children will comment on their parents' behaviours just as much as the parents will. And if they don't comment, they'll certainly be commenting of them.
Yeah.
For goodness, absolutely. Yeah. Every single move you make. So let's not pretend that children aren't making an analysis of their parental behaviours. They will be. It might not be conscious, but they'll be analysing what's going on around them. They'll be analysing, and did you think, is my parent making sense? Is this all can I trust this? Is this all adding up? Is this coherent? If it is this going into my nervous system and making me feel okay? They absolutely know that. And so
they're great barometers.
Barometer.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much covered, in a nutshell. And of course, there's your book, Mind Kind, for more information. And I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, except for you can buy it online.
Yes, that's what I did. I've got 2 of these.
You giving
them away.
Happy reading.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you all, Tracy.
Lovely to talk to you too.